World of Wolfenstein: The New Order, Part 1. Tides of war turning. With the failure of Allied forces and their invasion to mainland France, the war is prolonged for 8 years. The reason for the prolonged war is because General Wilhelm Strass, a Nazi general and scientist, was advancing the Nazi war machine exponentially with several new equipment that brings the Nazi forces into the forefront of modernized warfare. Advances such as condensed and portable batteries that are not only standard issue for German soldiers, but are now starting to replace and advance the Nazi war machine beyond capacity. Advances in armor is seen by many German soldiers carrying chest and back plates to protect them, despite the fact that these do not seem to protect them from bullets, so I assume it protects them from lighter arms fire. Now we come to the most important, the advances in firearms for the German Reich, with the newly created assault rifle 1946, also known as the Sturmgewehr 46, which is an improved version of the MP-43 and Sturmgewehr 44. This version sporting an improved recoil spring in order to improve the rate of fire of the rifle. This recoil spring is so large it can be found within the receiver by the large cylindrical juts on the sides of the rifle. It also features a dust cover in order to keep the bolts of the rifle clean, and the dust cover runs on a spring that will open and close when being fired. The handgun 1946 is a modernized Luger P08 with a threaded barrel in order to fit a suppressor on the barrel. With the introduction of the pistol, even though it would be replaced by the Walther P38 because the production of the Luger P08 was too high. This shows that either the handgun 1946 is either cheaper to produce than the P38, or that the German Reich can now afford to make this variation of the P08 Luger without having to worry about the loss of production. The MG46 is a heavily modified MG42 in the Gatling configuration, sporting 4 barrels and running off a electrical battery located on the side of the machine gun in front of the 250 round drum magazine. Despite the high rate of fire and the glowing red barrels when the machine gun is fired, shows that there is a cooling problem for the weapon. Even though for an MG42 the cooling problem of the barrels will be easily amended by switching out the barrels, but this machine gun cannot do that. So either there is a cooling system implemented in order to keep the machine gun from overheating, however, since it cannot be seen, I don't know what is keeping the machine gun cool. This shows that either the problem of cooling has either been solved and there will be no misfire from an overheated barrel, or that the German Reich simply does not care and the problem still exists to a certain degree. There has also been advances in flight for the German Reich, as jet fighters are seen in the beginning of the game show German jet fighters, but these are unnamed and are not seen after first stage of the first level of the game. So any further details about these aircraft is limited to what you can see in the S. From what it looks, they are based off earlier prototype German jet aircraft that would not be used throughout the war, but will be seen towards the end of the war in our time. Some of the greatest advances in the German Reich is their advances in robotics, cybernetics, and mechanization. This seen perfectly the Baltische Auge, or in English the Baltic Eye. It is a massive machine that is equipped with a large energy-based weapon that is seen to be extremely powerful, as it can not only destroy aircraft, ground forces, but it can also destroy itself. Now, the sheer size and power of said machine can show a fear level of psychological warfare. However, it would if an 80mm flak cannon couldn't destroy it with 3 shots, as I did, which shows that this machine is obviously an early prototype that is being field tested to defend Death's Head compound. The Kampfhund, or attack dog, is an armed and genetically automated German Shepherd that is used by the German Reich as a form of attack dog. While remaining mostly organic, the dog is still a formidable enemy that won't go down easily. Being armor-plated and ferocious in its attacks, it will keep attacking you at such a close range that if you do not fight back immediately, it will surely kill you. The Panzerhunds are armored dog. Model 46 is one of the first prototype robots that is seen in General Death's Head's workshop. While as a prototype, they are still dangerous and heavily armored. They will not go down easy, as 12-barreled 50 caliber ball turret seen on an aircraft easily cuts through them, which shows that they are very well armored, or a simple German Stahlhandgranate can destroy them if they try to catch it and eat it, showing that they also have the intelligence of a dog if they can follow the simple dog game of fetch. The Super Soldaten, or super soldiers, are heavily armored biomechanical soldiers that are currently being tested and experimented on by General Death's Head in his workshop. Built upon a human base, the Super Soldaten is controlled via chemical therapy to become the ultimate soldier. Boosted by mechanical augmentations, it has become a very, very dangerous role. And it is devoted to this role, which is to fight and kill for the German Reich. While the German Reich had many advances during the war, the Allies also had their own advances at a very slow rate compared to them. As the weapons of the Allied forces during the war are quite limited, as we are only seeing one, nicknamed the submachine gun in the game, but I will be referring it to as the M1A3 Thompson carbine. It is a stripped down but also upscale version of the classic M1 Thompson submachine gun. The Thompson submachine gun is chambered in a 45 caliber ACP bullet. However, the large magazine, which could also show that it is taking a larger bullet, show that the M1A3 Thompson must be taking a larger bullet. So I hypothesize that it is taking a 30 caliber carbine bullet, as seen with the M1A1 carbines used by the United States Armed Forces in World War II. This shows that this weapon is a consolidation between the submachine gun and the rifle, becoming an automatic carbine similar to the Sturmgewehr that the German forces used in World War II. The Allied troop and cargo carrier is a large aircraft vehicle that, much like the German jet fighters, are only seen in the first stage of the first level of the game. They are heavily armed with 4 12-gun 50 caliber ball turrets, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. They were very advanced and very large, considering that at this point the Allies are losing and therefore resources must be scarce. These vehicles can be seen as a type of prototype aircraft. However, the other advances in Allied aircraft are not seen, as the fighter planes used by the Allied forces are simple propeller fighter planes that you would find in any theater of the war in World War II. However, this shows that the Allied forces are not as advanced as the German forces, as it is propeller plane going against jet plane. And when you look at the dogfights happening between the Allied planes and the German planes, you can see that the German planes have a very distinct advantage, as they are faster, and it could be assumed that they are better armed than the Allied forces. Beyond the war, the Germans plan an invasion of Scotland, and to move through Scotland south to invade both Ireland and England. The plans for said invasion are shown within the castle within Death's Head's compound. This shows that they plan on going into the Scottish Highlands and moving their way south to capture London, and therefore forcing England out of the war. However, this plan, may not be known to the Allies, or it may be known as the assault on Death's Head compound was an act of desperation by the Allied forces, at this point being reduced to just England and Canada. With only them to fight this war, Death's Head's compound and Death's Head himself would be the only thing that could end the war, since he is the one designing and producing these terrible weapons of war being used by the Allied forces. With his death, there can be peace, at least for the Allies, while Germany would be curb-stomped by the Allied forces once again. However, plan to attack Death's Head failed, and the World War too would carry on for 2 more years. The German invasion of Scotland and England and Ireland being successful in 1947, and in 1948 the atomic bombing of the United States eastern coast would cause the unconditional surrender of the Allied forces. Germany would remain the main victor in this war and would annex the nations of France, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Austria, Hungary, Romania, Italy, Bulgaria, Turkey, Poland, Lithuania, Switzerland, Spain, the United Kingdom, Yugoslavia, and a majority of the Soviet Union's western lands, which will then be used by the Death's Head's commandos as a training ground in order to make them better. It would be at the end of this war that Germany would no longer to exist, only Germania, and Germania would be ruled from the newly christened Welthauptstadt Germania, the world capital Germania, built on the area that Berlin once stood, and it would become the capital of the world as in its name, and it would cement Hitler's German Reich as an empire that could be never met, even by the old Roman Empire. The world would change for 20 years. The German giant would lie dormant, waiting to attack, to expand, and Germany would expand. It would expand into the stars, taking the moon and soon Venus. But the home front is not quiet. Resistance groups would rise up, as seen with the August Risings in 1951 in England, which would only be stopped by the intervention of what is known as the London Monitor. The London Monitor being a heavily modified and upgraded version of the Baltic Eye as seen in the earlier stages of this game. This would crush the rebellion, similar to another giant weapon with a large laser on it that would also crush rebellions. However, Germany's slight expansions and gaining of land against nations that were too easy to fall. Even though Hitler betrayed both Mussolini and Hirohito in order to expand the area of which Germania would reach, an octopus that would grab the corners of the earth and say, "I am the Fuhrer of humanity." This concludes part 1, the setup for the Wolfenstein the New Order's lore series. Now, I will be working further on this as I expand into what happens after BJ Blazkowicz wakes up 20 years after the end of the Second World War.